of the Always Believe House. Oh, today we're going to have more F-U-N fun, because we're going to solve quadratic equations by factoring. Wow. What we're going to do is we're going to factor quadratic equations, set the factors equal to 0, and find the x-intercepts. So a magical whiteboard appears, and let's start rocking and rolling. Okay, so number one, remember we're just going to factor these, and I'm going to show you how to get the zeros, okay? So I'm going to zoom into number one. First off, there is no a, is there? Okay, so if there's no a, we're just going to take the c term. Remember, ax squared plus bx plus c. We're going to write that down, and there's only one set of factors of 3. It's just 1 and 3. So let's write these in order from the largest to the smallest, and we want to add and get a positive 4. So what can you do to 3 and 1 to get a plus 4? You can put pluses in front of them, right? Draw the two fraction bars, and what do I multiply to get x squared? X times x. This right here are my parentheses. So my parentheses will be x plus 3 and x plus 1 equals 0. Now then, both of these equal 0. And remember, we're trying to find the two numbers that the parabola will cross. So I'm going to set each of these equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. X plus 1 equals 0. And just solve these for x. So on this one, I'm going to move the negative 3 across. I'll get x equal negative 3. On this one, I'll move the y across, and I'll get x equal negative 1. Okay? So the way you want to write this answer is x equals negative 3 and negative 1. These are your factors, and these are your zeros. Okay? So notice the factors are plus 3 and plus 1, right? It's completely opposite of the 0 in it. If your factors are, say, x plus 5, x minus 2, your zeros will be negative 5 and positive 2. So your factors and zeros are going to have opposite signs, okay? It's another easy way to do this, okay? I'm not going to go through and do all these, so you're just going to solve for the factors and then set them equal to 0. Let's just get the numbers on number 2. There's no x, there's no a, so you're just going to write down 24, and then the factors of 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. Remember, you can also graph 24 over x, hit Control T, and it will give you the factors in that one. Okay, so if you can't get your factors, you got to graph it, 20, whatever your c is, that divided by x, hit Control T, it gives you the factors. We want to add and get 11, don't we? So we're going to use the 3 and the 8. So put plus 8 plus 3, do the same process I just did, okay? Got to be able to do this independently. Message your teacher if you need help. I'm not going to do all these problems for you. Okay, on the next problem, number 7. There's no number in front of the x squared, so we're going to take the 25 and write down the factors. It's just 1 and 25 and 5 and 5. Notice that this is going to work out to be the 10, the 5, and the 5. This is a perfect square in it, okay? So I'm going to write down plus 5 and plus 5, put x on the bottom, and that's what my factors are. X plus 5 and x plus 5 equals 0. Set both of them equal to 0. And notice they're going to be the same, aren't they? So x is equal to negative 5 and x is equal to negative 5. So my 0 is just x equal negative 5, okay? So these are my factors. This is my 0. Notice it only has one 0, and the graph would look like this. At the negative 5, the parabola would cross the x-axis, okay? So if you have a perfect square like this is a perfect square, the problem will only have one 0, okay? Because the factors are the same thing. When you set them equal to 0, you'll get the same answer, okay? Notice I'm not doing all this. On this one right here, notice that the c is equal to 0 in it. That means the y-intercept equals 0, which means 0 is going to be a root. Or a 0, okay? 0 will be one of the x-intercepts, okay? So to factor this, the GCF is x. I'm going to take an x out, and I'll have x minus 8, won't I? Set each of these equal to 0. These are the factors, and these are your zeros. X equals 0, move over the 8, you'll get x equals 8, won't you? So these are my zeros, right? So you would write that x equals 0 and 8. That's how you write down your zeros, okay? Can be two answers most of the time, okay? Let's keep going. Let's do number 8 real quick. Number 8, notice we have 16. So 16 has 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Notice that these are both square roots, aren't they? The square root of 16 is 4. 4 times x is 4x. If you double it, you get your 8x. So 4 and 4 work, but we need a negative 4 and a negative 4 to get the negative 8, don't we? We'll put x and x on the bottom, and this is going to give us my x minus 4 and my x minus 4 in it. Notice that the zeros and the factors will have opposite signs. So these are my factors. My zeros will just be x equals 4 and x equals 4, won't it? So I'm only going to have one 0. And this parabola will look something like this. So at 4, the parabola will cross the x-axis, okay? This 16 right here would be the y-intercept, right? If we go up at 16, the parabola will cross the y-axis. Piece of cake. Very important. You can factor these, okay? Make sure you can factor. Okay? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to do all these. Okay? On 13 and 14, there's no bx. Okay? If there's no bx, that means the vertex is on the y-axis and the zeros are opposites. Basically, you can solve this with the square root. This is what we were doing. The bx term moves that parabola left and right. If you don't have a bx term, the vertex just slides up and down, and the zeros are opposites, okay? They're on the other side. They're opposite sides of the y-axis. So on this one right here, we're going to factor this. And the factors of 64 that subtract to give us 0 are 8 and 8. So this is going to be x minus 8, x plus 8. Because we want to add or subtract to get 0 because the bx terms go. So these are my factors. And notice you just get this by square roots, don't you? But the signs are opposite. They're not the same, are they? So the zeros will be x minus 8 equals 0 and x plus 8 equals 0. And I'm going to get x equals a positive 8 and a negative 8. Okay? Remember, your zeros are going to be totally opposites, okay? You can also get this by factoring, or graphing, but you've got to be able to factor these. Factoring is one of the most important things you learn in this class all year long. Let's go to 15. Notice on 15, there's no bx. See if you can square root. So the square root, this would be 2x, and this would be 9, wouldn't it? The square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 81 is 9. The signs are opposites. Now then, if you have a number in front of the x, you'll get a fraction. So remember, these are your factors. And then if you set them equal to 0 and solve for x, so I'm going to move the 9 over. I'll have 2x equals negative 9. Divide by 2. I'll get x equals negative 9 over 2 and move the 9 over, I'll get 2x equals 9, divide by 2, and I'll get x equals 9 over 2, won't I? Which is going to be 4.5 in it. So these right here. If you factor and you have numbers in front of the x's, you're going to get a fractional 0. Very important. Just move the number over and divide by the number in front of the x. Remember, the signs are still opposites. The signs are still opposites, but if you got a number in front of the x, you'll get a fractional 0, okay? Now then, to get these on the calculator, I like graph tracing, okay? It's just a little simpler to graph trace, okay? So solve for 0. Write that down. Solve for 0. Solve for 0, graph, and then graph trace. Okay, so we're going to solve for 0. So we're going to move over the 21. X squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. This is what I'm going to graph. I do not type in the equals 0 on the calculator. So let's do this. So we're going to go to the graph, hit tab, or let's do menu. Graph is 3, function is 1. Sometimes if you hit tab, it just make sure it says F1x, and then we're going to type in x squared plus 4x minus 21. So x squared plus 4x minus 21. Hit enter. I get my graph. Now then menu, 5, and then 1. And then I'm just going to hit the right arrow until I get to my 0, right? Which is right there. So 3 is one of the zeros. Now then, this is negative 10, so I'm going to go negative 9, negative 8. Let's type in negative 7. So I type in negative 7, and boom, I get the other one, don't I? Negative 7, comma 0. So 3 and negative 7 are my zeros. So x equals 3 and negative 7, okay? So you just graph trace it and go to it. You can also hit menu 6-1, but you got to drag and set your max and minimums, okay? A little bit more difficult to do. I just like graph tracing, all right? Let's do number 20. So on number 20, we got to move that 4x over and the 1 over, don't we? So we're going to subtract 4x to move it over, subtract 1. So we're going to get x squared minus 14x plus 48 equals 0. You're going to graph f of x. That's going to be on the calculator. X squared minus 14x plus 48. And then hit control, or just graph trace it and get your zeros, okay? You got to solve these for 0 to graph. If they're not solved for 0, you can't graph them, okay? And lastly, on this one right here, I'm just going to move the 28x over. So I'll get 4x squared minus 28x equals 0. And you're going to graph 4x squared minus 28x, right? F of x equals, right? Notice no bx. That means 0 will be a 0, right? That means the graph is going to go through the origin. If there's no C term, okay? There's no C, so the y-intercept is going to be the origin in it. The graph will go through the origin. The origin will be one of your zeros. So you'll see that when you graph it, okay? Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. Remember, you are amazing. You are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.